Now, the last game that I have to talk about, we have Michigan State going on the road to take on the Miami Hurricanes. Now, despite me being a Miami Hurricanes fan, this was not a game that I planned on talking about, but I really only had two options to pick from other than this game. It was either Virginia Tech and West Virginia or Nebraska taking on Oklahoma. Wasn't really interested in seeing West Virginia take on Virginia Tech. No offense to those two teams if you're watching, if you're a fan of one of those two teams, but didn't really have a lot of interest in talking about that game. And I think that Nebraska and Oklahoma is probably going to be a murder. So this was the fourth game that I wanted to talk about. And I am a Miami Hurricane fan. I do have a good amount of Miami Hurricane subscribers on the channel. You guys are pretty loyal, and you guys love to hear my thoughts on the Miami Hurricanes. So I said, hell, I might as well go ahead, and I do want to upload more Miami Hurricanes content. So here it goes. So Miami is a 6.5-point favorite in this game. Surprise, surprise, because I'm extremely surprised that Miami's a favorite to win this game, because I thought Miami probably would be a 1-point favorite or maybe an underdog. And Manny Diaz, I think that this is a really big game for him, because I know over the last couple of weeks, after Miami got blown out by Alabama, I said that that game is not going to define Manny Diaz and this Miami Hurricanes team. What Miami does against ACC opponents is going to define, Manny Diaz and kind of how we're going to perceive him. But I'm kind of changing on that. I feel like this game kind of is a big test to see, where Miami and this team is at, because you're facing a Michigan State team that right now has a lot of momentum. A lot of Spartan fans are really excited. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of Michigan State fans that are really confident that Michigan State can win this game, as they should be. Mel Tucker has done a really good job with this Michigan State program so far. I think he's a really good head coach, despite, everything that went on with the whole Colorado situation. But this Mel Tucker coach team is going to be prepared. My question is Manny Diaz going to have this Miami Hurricanes team prepared? Because Miami hasn't really looked prepared. I didn't really give Manny Diaz a pass against Alabama. I was disappointed because I thought Miami would be able to keep it close. But against Appalachian State, barely scraping by 2 points, it's just really disappointing, because this is, in my opinion, the most talented team that Miami has had in decades. And I stand by that statement. A lot of Miami Hurricanes fans constantly ask me, JT, do you still feel like this is the most talented Hurricanes team? Yes, I freaking do. The problem is that although Miami is super talented, and yes, Miami is more talented than Appalachian State, and is Miami more talented than Michigan State? Yes, they are. At the end of the day, people have to realize that in college football, talent doesn't win games all the time. At the end of the day, if you have a talented football team and they're struggling and they're coming up short, you want to know what the main reason for that is? It's because of coaching. And you look at Manny Diaz, the reason why Miami wasn't able to be competitive against Alabama wasn't simply for the fact that it was Alabama. It was also from the fact that, Miami wasn't really that well coached in that game by Manny Diaz. There were a lot of missed tackles. Like, I can understand a team coming in there and flat out just being better than you. And Alabama was better than Miami in some sense. But at the same time, there were a lot of things that happened due to lack of preparation. And at the same time, when you go back and you look at that Alabama game, Miami's play calling was really questionable. They played really scared in that game. It's been really conservative. And Miami's offense has been fairly conservative so far this year, which I'm really surprised. Like, they're doing a lot of bubble screens, a lot of, like my guy, NMD TV Kane said, make sure that you guys go ahead and check my brother out, man. They don't really try to push the ball downfield. I don't really understand why they're not trying to push the ball vertically. I mean, what's the point of going down and getting Charleston Rambo in the transfer portal if you're not going to try to use them? Like, Miami should be trying to stretch the field more than what they have done. And so far, everything's been pretty conservative. But also, I'm not going to blame everything on the coaching staff, because D'Eriq King, and I know a lot of you Hurricanes fans are about to hate what I'm about to say, but I'm about to be God honest with you. D'Eriq King hasn't played good. D'Eriq King has played like shit the last couple of weeks. And I know everybody loves D'Eriq King. He's the heart and soul. He's the heartbeat of this Hurricanes team. But I'm just being honest with you. And you can blame the offensive line this, the offensive line that. At the end of the day, there have been several plays when D'Eriq King has made the wrong reads, on RPOs. He hasn't really been making good decisions there. He hasn't really been making good decisions when it comes to throwing the football. And you can blame the offensive line, but at the end of the day, we have to stop cutting excuses for players that we like, okay? We can like D'Eriq King and we can love D'Eriq King all we want to, but at the end of the day, we still have to fairly assess these players, because I see a lot of Hurricanes fans going on Twitter and always calling out this guy, calling out the linebackers, calling out this guy, calling out this guy, but it's not fair. If we're going to call out those guys, we have to be able to call out D'Eriq King. Despite how much we love D'Eriq King and how much we like D'Eriq King, we still have to criticize him just as much as we criticize all the other players, biases aside. So when you look at D'Eriq King definitely hasn't played like the quarterback that he was last year. I'm just saying. It's not all on D'Eriq King. I'm not saying it's all on D'Eriq King. Ray Lashley hasn't really been doing a good job so far. The team as a whole has performed as a good unit. But overall, D'Eriq King was the biggest reason why Miami was able to will the way to a victory against Appalachian State. But at the end of the day, D'Eriq King hasn't really played all that well. He hasn't played as good as what he did last year, because last year he was on absolute fire. And this is a big game for Miami, because after this game, you play Central Connecticut, and then you start conference play. You open against West Virginia. Then the game after that, you have to play the University of North Carolina, which is the game that everybody's waiting to see, because that's the game that ultimately decides the Coastal. So for Michigan, this could be a key defining game for Michigan, or one of them that they're going to have this season, because if Michigan State wins this game, then you start out 3-0. You're going to have a lot of momentum as you enter your way into conference play. And to think that Michigan State will be 3-0, that will make Michigan State Spartans fans go off the roof, man. So Michigan State has a really solid offense. I mean, they're balanced. They have a really good quarterback wide receiver duo with Peyton Thorne and Jaden Reed. You have a really good rushing attack. They have two really good running backs, and they have a really good offensive line that's really physical, and they're maulers. And when you look at that Miami Hurricanes defense, their linebackers haven't really been all that great, because I always see everybody calling out the linebackers. So Miami's run defense still hasn't improved all that much. So don't be surprised if you see Michigan State come in this game and they run for almost 200 yards against this Miami Hurricanes defense. I would not be surprised. And if that does happen as a Hurricanes fan, that's going to be a big area of concern, because then they could dictate how this game goes. If Miami's offense continues to struggle, they're not going to have a lot of opportunities to get on the field. You're going to keep that defense on the field. And if they win the time of possession battle, that doesn't really vote well in the favor of Miami. And also, for Red Lashley, will him and D'Eriq King be more efficient on offense? This offense hasn't really been that efficient. They were 5 of 16 on third down last week against Appalachian State. Shouldn't really be any excuses for that, because Miami should be a more talented team offensively than what Appalachian State was on defense. So I'm not really trying to buy that nonsense. Somebody tried to tell me Appalachian State is one of the better G5 programs, and I understand that, and I do agree with that. But at the end of the day, Miami shouldn't be struggling on third down against Appalachian State. They were 5 of 16. So there has to be more efficiency on offense. And also, can Miami generate more big plays downfield? I really haven't seen a lot of big plays from Miami this year on offense. Last year there were more big plays downfield, but I expected more big plays, and I haven't really seen that so far this year. And I'm kind of surprised, because Miami has improved the wide receiver position. You got Charleston Rambo at the transfer portal. You still have Mike Harley there. You have good depth and a lot of talent at wide receiver. So there's really no excuses for why Miami has struggled to generate those big plays downfield. So the team I'm going to take to win this game, I'm taking Michigan State to win. I think Michigan State wins this game 31-27. And, I just think Michigan State is going to be able to win this game because, first of all, they're going to be able to run the football effectively. I don't think Miami's going to be able to stop the run. They haven't really been able to stop the run since last year when North Carolina damn near ran for 1,000 yards on them. Haven't really seen improvement there. I think Mel Tucker is going to have this Michigan State team more prepared and better coached than what Manny Diaz is going to have this Miami Hurricanes team. So I really think that Michigan State is going to be able to win this game. And this shouldn't really be an upset. A lot of people are going to view it as an upset, but if Michigan State wins this game, I'm not going to be surprised. I wouldn't consider it an upset, and I'm really surprised that Miami is a 6.5 point favorite to win this game, because if I was making the odds, I probably would have Miami as a 1 point favorite, or hell, probably have Michigan State as a 1 point favorite, because Michigan State has been playing some really good football, and Miami hasn't really been playing all that great. They're just squeaking by, and I know it's the first couple of games this season. People are still a little bit rusty and whatnot. But at the end of the day, man, I just don't think that Miami's going to be able to get it done despite playing at home. I'm going to take Michigan State with the upset. So you guys let me know who you guys have winning this game down in the comment section down below.